Good evening and welcome to the Fredonia Central School District Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, September 26th, 2023. We start every meeting with a Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I'm going to ask one of our senior leaders to come forward and lead us in the pledge. So Sam Azrat, if you would come forward and lead us, that'd be wonderful.
Your stop right in there.
Thank you.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So if you've been at our board meetings long enough, you realize that there's always a unsuspecting senior who has to lead us in the pledge. We do that for a number of reasons, but one is to start the meeting out so that we understand that we're doing this for the students. We're not doing it for ourselves. It's for our students, and it gets us started out on the right foot. So we have an agenda for tonight, and part of this is consent. So once we approve the agenda, consent agenda, several items will be approved. And we're not going to go through making motions, but some of those are just background type, normal type things that we're approving, routine type matters. There's other things that we will bring up and discuss. Before I bring this forward, what I would like to do is, I've got to use my copy and I'm sorry. We have item number 7B1 that we would like to just remove from this agenda before we bring it up as a motion. And then we have the addendum here that adds item number 7B6. And I believe that's the only two
There
changes.
is a second piece under item D within the same vein.
Thank you. Thank you. So those two items as an addendum. With those three corrections, if I could have a motion to bring the agenda to the floor. Ms. Powell-Fortna, and a second.
Second.
Ms. Hahn. Now, is there anything anyone would like to pull out a consent agenda so we can discuss it further? Okay, if not, all those in favor of accepting the agenda for tonight, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Wonderful. So we've reserved this time to hear from the public. If anyone would like to address the board, we have a microphone. We appreciate if you keep your comments to 5 minutes or less in items that are following on the agenda for a topic. Is there anyone who would like to address the board tonight? Yes. We have a microphone, so if you want to state your name and address.
Oh, I apologize. I meant later on.
Oh.
I don't have anything for this agenda.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So if no one would like to address the public at this time, we're going to get right into our special presentations and the New York State School Board Association Champions of Change Award. Mr. Ziliaks.
Yeah, so
Please explain this.
we wanted to take a moment to celebrate a little bit here. And as some of you know, there's an organization called the New York State School Boards Association that assists school boards in a variety of different ways across New York State. And they picked up a piece of information from our social media, which is a credit to Christine Slagle, who is no longer with us, but really ramped up our social media over time, and now is going to be carried on by Mrs. Hines Morrison. So thank you to you in advance for keeping that going. And they sent a letter over the summer that stated the following, and I hate to read, but I think it's nice how they worded this. This is addressed to me from their executive director, and it says, "Every once in a while, it is nice to get a pat on the back, especially when recognition is unexpected. The New York State School Boards Association initiated a recognition program called Champions for Change to do just that. It has come to our attention that there's a creative program, an innovative program in your school district that deserves recognition in way of your personal fitness and nutrition class. And we would like to pay tribute to those who made it possible. We understand there are many incredibly deserving programs and projects throughout the state, and NYSBRA is celebrating yours. A colorful banner, which I will show in a moment here, has been created for you to hang in recognition of the program." And they went on to thank Mr. Lauer, Mr. Paschke, but absolutely Mrs. Lauder and also Mr. Bertrando, who are the teachers of the course. So this is a really nice honor that, again, did not require us to apply or submit anything. This is just something that they happened to see and thought it warranted their recognition. So the banner, which I will pass on to Ms. Lauder and Mr. Bertrando, is here, and it just shows that for this particular course, which is a new course, which I think we've discussed a couple times and they presented last time, and just a really nice recognition for our school district, for the high school, and for the administrators and teachers involved. So I'll open it up to the board to share any thoughts. I'm going to present this to our teachers, and we'll give Mr. Paschke a chance, and also Mrs. Lauder and Mr. Bertrando to, and wherever you guys would like to hang this, it's great. If you'd like to,
Anyone from the board?
I'd just like to say, congratulations, it's a great honor, and, I personally feel fitness and nutrition is a big component of what we should be teaching our students, it's a I guess you could call it a lifelong skill, so very, very pleased to have that program going and to get that recognition, so thank you.
Say the same, we loved the presentation you guys gave, it was great. I think we said we were just so happy there's so many kids who wanted to do it. You obviously have reached a ton of kids, so it's fantastic. Thank you, congratulations.
I want to personally thank you for the healthy smoothies that we are still enjoying at our house.
I hope this catches on in other schools. This is a great, fantastic program. Thank you.
It's one of these courses that I think, we can teach math, we can teach reading, literature, social science, and they learn something, but they don't always apply it right away. But this is something that they can take and apply right away, and it is. It's a life skill that can mean something for a long time for our students, and I thank you. I congratulate you on this. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you. Would you like to say anything?
Well, thank you for the support. It's nice to have positive feedback.
Yeah, just really the opportunity. We brainstormed this idea. I know there's a lot of questions, and even through our presentation last year, we received great feedback from you. We took, obviously, what we did last year. We asked our students, hey, what can we do better? What do you like? And we're going to take that moving forward here into the second semester and continue to help our students be the best version of themselves, throughout this course. So thank you guys again.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So next we have another award here. Our New York State Teacher of the Year finalist.
Yeah, so again, I'm going to start and open it up to others. Mrs. Piper can comment a little bit, but there are roughly 700 school districts in New York State. And each year there's a recognition of a New York State Teacher of the Year. And if you really think about it from a numbers point of view, to have one of our own Mrs. Foley get to the last round of finalists out of 700 districts in the state. This is a great honor, and I think is a great tribute to her and all the great things that she's done in her classes over many years here in Fredonia. She was introduced at a ceremony recognizing the finalists recently, and I felt like one of the paragraphs really kind of summed up a lot of what we know about Mrs. Foley. But the paragraph went as follows: guided by the belief that childhood is a period of enchantment, magic, and make-believe, Mrs. Foley recognizes the responsibility of educators to tap into the natural sense of wonder and curiosity that students have. She wholeheartedly encourages her students to be thinkers, to question, to seek knowledge, as this innate curiosity is the driving force behind their thirst for learning. By providing ample opportunities for play, exploration, invention, and investigation, Ms. Foley nurtures a genuine love of learning with each child. Additionally, she recognizes the profound impact of spending time in nature of students' academic performance, physical well-being, and mental health, particularly in the context of the current times where social emotional learning is paramount. So I thought that was a nice little summary of all that Ellen means to us. We certainly want to recognize and honor her here tonight, as has been done across the state, which again is not an honor a whole lot of people get a chance to have bestowed upon them. So Ellen, from all of us, congratulations. And I think for the moment I'll turn it over to Mrs. Piper because, and again, Mrs. Hines Morrison is new to our district, but she's already making an impact on several places, and she came up with
echo everything Dr. Ziliak said. Ellen is one of a kind. It's magical to go into her classroom and watch her get down on the level with the kids and reach them and connect with them and listen to them, and they feel heard, and she just brings every child to their utmost level. So we love you, Ellen. We couldn't be happier for you. Glad your family's here to witness it and see it, but bravo.
Congratulations, Ms. Foley. I see that you have brought a few friends, a few co-workers, some family members, some family member co-workers. But we all congratulate you. Thank you. That's quite an honor.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I made it through the whole process without coming to tears, and that's the ovation. I can't tell you what that means to me. I grew up in Fredonia. I've been here since I was 4 years old. I've been in the Fredonia school system, and I just couldn't be happier than to be recognized as a Fredonia graduate and a Fredonia teacher and a Western New York teacher, and it was incredible, the journey that I went through in this past year. I really didn't want to do it. Amy came to me and said, I'm going to nominate you. I said, no, that's okay. Thank you, but no, that's okay. But it's really, really been eye-opening, the thoughts that I had to go through and the writing that I had to do, and the reflection on what teaching is all about. We're just blessed to have an opportunity in this school district to be able to do what we know is right. We teach the way children need to learn. And we thank the board and all the people who have come before you who have put so much money and time and encouragement into the early childhood program. It is what it is because you've supported us and you've supported me, so thank you.
Anything else? Next, we have the approval of minutes from our last meeting from September 12th. If I could have a motion to bring that to the floor, please. Mr. Hawk, and a second.
Second.
Ms. Gullo.
We also want to recognize real quick, we know people are busy. We know you have a lot going on outside of school and even maybe getting to some grading and some other things. So if you are part of the audience and you need to step out, we certainly understand. No obligation to remain. Your call.
Thank you. So we have the minutes of the regular meeting of September 12th. Any questions on that? Corrections, amplifications? All those in favor of accepting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next, we have the approval of the minutes from the audit committee meeting held August 21st. If I could have a motion to approve those. Mr. Johnston. And a second.
Second.
Ms. Powell-Fortner. Any questions on that? Yes.
So I was part of the audit committee. We had great conversation with Ms. Napoli, and we had several recommendations that are highlighted here. And I think it was kind of understood or expected that we would take on those recommendations and implement them. So
Sure.
I guess, how do we make sure and kind of check in, accept the minutes, and then what's the check-in that these start? We have some monthly recommendations and some additional steps here.
Yep. And I can absolutely follow up, and I think some of those things, you're right, in terms of the monthly reporting are just things that we plan to do. In terms of some of the recommendations that we got in terms of our student class accounts, which tied into sales tax, and our internal organization. This comes at a good time, just due to some changes in personnel. We have a chance to kind of regroup around some of those things, so this is a good natural time to sort of restructure how we're doing those things and really have a better handle on it. Again, it doesn't amount a whole lot of money that we're talking about, but these are our recommendations for our auditor, and certainly we want to follow through on them. So I will absolutely keep everybody updated on our progress there, and some of those things I think will just naturally become built into our board meetings that we'll see. So,
Right. So for October, you think we would start to see some of these monthly audit report?
is that something that could happen as soon as October? Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Ms. Any other comments? Well, good. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next, we have financial treasurer's report and the approval of some first student transportation contracts. If I could have a motion to bring all of that to the floor.
So moved.
Ms. Hahn, and a second. Mr. Hawk. There's quite a few here, and if we could generalize or bring out highlights.
Yeah, so what the state asks us to do is when we report, to report our bus runs as they are solidified in the beginning part of the year. So items 1 through 6 are all part of the contract that has been approved. This is not an increase in funding in any way or an increase in cost. These are the components of that busing contract that was approved. Within the contract is a window of time in which there's a little bit of flexibility to let the runs sort of shake out and become solidified. So we're right in that window right now, so this is probably around the time that we will do this each each year. And you can see the various runs there with a little bit of detail about each of them in terms of their destination, their starting point, or the amount, so on and so forth. The only one that doesn't fall within that is item 7. There is a 31-day emergency contract in play. As you know, there is legislation called the McKinney-Vento Act that deals with students or a student who may end up homeless or identified as homeless during the course of the school year. And it outlines who would be responsible for continuing that education. In this case, we are what's called the School of Origin, which means we continue to be responsible for the student's education as well as transportation. And this item 7 relates to getting a student to school.
Okay. Any questions?
Just a question about 7. That's the Westfield, isn't that the one we approved for 600 a day? No, that's a different one? I'm sorry? Different one.
So, how does this affect our, it's a breakdown is what I'm hearing you say. Is this a breakdown to our base?
Correct. 1 through 6.
Right, and then so to our base, if it's been sent to me, I apologize, I don't recall it, but where is our base at? Could we be sent that as far as, I mean, because I don't think I had last year's base, and this is going on the booklet that you had sent to us before the budget. Page 21 had,
Right.
you know, a 10-year
Yep.
piece on that.
Yeah, so what would have happened last year, late August, early September, you would have had similar listing of contracts. They would have either had a C for a new contract or an E for an extension in front of a number. And then we would have had the same data that you have here, the date and time they start and where they're going and so forth. So in that, you would have seen, which wouldn't be there in there yet because that'll be this year. One of them would have been the base contract, which I can get you that in comparison to what it is now. But basically, you approved as a group the new contract for 5 years, and now because I have to report it to the state as an individual who's going where, we have to break it out this way and get it approved that way.
Sure. So can you give us an update according to this booklet?
Sure.
On the items as you have them categorized here, just to see the increases and decreases?
Any other questions? No other questions. If there aren't any other questions, all those in favor of approving items 1 through 7 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next, we have the appointment of Kathy Wright to a non-probationary, non-tenured position of assistant to the tax collector. If I could have a motion to bring that to the floor, please.
So moved.
Ms. Powell Fortman, and a second?
Second.
Mr. Johnston? You know, if you could just explain this, this is something that's been ongoing for several years. So,
Yeah, this has been, this is the third year. We've had Mrs. Wright come in and help us with tax collection. After a retirement, it kind of came back to the business office, and she is just helpful in generally overseeing the process and giving John a little guidance here and there when needed. And, you know, in terms of, cost-benefit analysis, she provides a great service and a lot of work for a relatively small amount of money. So we appreciate her and her assistance. I don't know if anything else, John.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Kathy had functioned as our tax collector for quite a long time, and she's basically helping with the front end of the process, which is where we have all the different forms and things that the escrow companies send, and then we get the taxes from the county, so she kind of sorts it all out, makes sure that they go to the places they go to, so it takes a burden off of us. She's good at it, she's done it a long time, so she's willing to help.
She knows what she's doing.
Oh,
Yeah, good. Questions?
So, does this meet, I think it's our internal auditor's need for segregation of duties?
Yeah, like this, she would be completely segregated, because what she does, I don't touch at all. She's doing the prelim and mailing, and then once the collection starts, she's not involved in that at all, so there's no crossover at all.
If there's no other comments, questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next, we have the purchase of equipment for health and safety. If I could have a motion to bring that to the floor, please.
So moved.
Ms. Gallo, and a second. Mr. Hawk. Mr. Ziliaks.
Yeah, so just like we're constantly looking to meet the needs of students, every once in a while our adults attached to the district will have a need as well. And something like this typically comes through a physician's order. And since it is equipment and was not budgeted, it needs board approval. So that's why the resolution is here tonight.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Thank you. Next, we have the approval of a rental agreement with Child's Education Service at Wheelock. If I could have a motion to bring that to the floor, please.
So moved.
Ms. Hahn, and a second.
Second.
Ms. Paul Fortner. So this is quite a few classrooms, Mr. Ziliaks.
Oh, yeah, so we're happy to have Little Seeds with us and expanding their room usage. As you might remember a while ago, one of the concerns that came forward from Wheelock is that we had BOCES renting space at the school, and because that was attached to their professional development, there was a lot of adults in and out of the building on any given day. And questions started to come up about, do we know who the people are that we are coming in and out, and are we sure that they are supposed to be here, and could there be a possibility of someone entering the building under the guise of professional development that might not necessarily need to be there. So we thought a lot about that, and eventually decided that we would move on from our agreement with BOCES and no longer have them be part of Wheelock. So this is the first year that has fully been in place, and to compensate for some of those rooms that BOCES occupied, Little Seeds expanded their footprint in the building, along with also trading off some spaces with us that gave us a little more space for some of our special area classes. So it was sort of a win-win all the way around. And this is the contract for those 8 rooms that Little Seeds occupies.
Okay. Any questions? I think that if you had gone to the Wheelock Jamboree, you'd be impressed with all of the services that are going on in Wheelock. Nice job. Thank you for putting that on. It was a wonderful eye-opener for all of us, and to see something like this where the classrooms of Little Seeds is increasing, it just, couldn't be happier with what's going on in Wheelock. Thank you. So, if there's no other questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next, we have the approval of bids from Transit Construction regarding work at Wheelock. If I could have a motion to bring that to the floor, please. Mr. Johnston and Ms. Gullo. This has been going on for a while, and hopefully we've got a solution.
So this is a little bit of an ongoing, I'm going to use the word saga, one of the other concerns that came from Wheelock was that the entryway was not similar to what you see at our other schools, so we used part of the outlay project to hopefully have this resolved. So as you know, there is a bid process, and the lower bidder gets the job. And we started off with a great plan that seemed to be crystal clear and all kinds of assurances that this would happen sometime over this past summer and be done for the opening of school. Unfortunately, that did not happen, and the district has been very disappointed with the customer service in general of that particular contractor. So we are doing our best to work through it. Part of the solution was to break the project into two pieces, phase 1 and phase 2. What you see before you tonight is phase 2, which is actually the installation of the transit or teller window, which will be at the main entrance. And also there is a coiled fire shutter that is a safety feature within that. So this separates out that work outside of what was originally part of the scope of work. And we hope to have somebody in soon to get this under control and complete this part of the work. So it's been a process, and we're sorry that there's been delays.
Any questions? Is there any time frame connected to this contract?
I'm hesitant to give a time frame because the other time frames I've given have come and went. So I would just say ASAP at this point, and I will try to give people more information as it becomes available to us.
Is there going to have to be alternate entries and things like that now that school's in session, or?
Nope. So if you look at the entryway we're talking about, there's 2 sets of double doors, and the doors to the left will always be available.
Okay, great.
That will also include thinking about doing some of the work on second shift,
Okay,
or perhaps on a day when school's not in session, to accommodate, but we should be okay.
super.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Hopefully we can keep that moving. Next, we have the approval of overages in the middle school special education area. If I could have a motion for those 3. Ms. Gallo, and a second.
Second.
Ms. Powell-Fortner. I will ask for clarification. We've gone through this several times, but
Yeah, just a quick summary. In general in the district, we've had an increase in the number of special education students, and more so in this case, an increase in the intensity of the services that are required from our students. So in order to accommodate the needs at the middle school, 3 of our teachers have voluntarily agreed to teach overages, which is addressed in the FTA contract. We thank them very much for doing so, and this helps get our students what we need. So we're excited to have it here tonight and be able to move forward with those additional services starting tomorrow.
good. Any questions on those? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. We're going to go back to item number B6. If I could, we have the approval of appointment of personnel of Aaron Lamb to a probationary position. If I could have a motion to bring that to the floor, please. Mr. Johnston and Mr. Hawk. This is one of the addendum items, so if you could just go over this, Mr. Zilians.
Yeah, correct. Again, similar to special education, especially with some increase in students at the very end of the summer, we had increased needs in E&L, or English as a new language, and so much so that we needed to bring an additional teacher on board. We're happy to have Erin joining us from Brockton. She does have children here in the district, and she's been teaching for longer than 8 years, but 8 years in E&L services. She has a certification which allows her to do so. Also helpful is a certification in English Language Arts 7 through 12. So she's got a nice, well-rounded background in education, and she's been extremely successful. And the reference checks we got were glowing, and we look forward to her coming on board. As is customary by New York State education law, sometimes a district where an employee might be leaving will hold them to 30 days. And that's why you see a start date that is not until October 27th. So, welcome to Erin. She could not be here tonight, but we appreciate her being, oh, hey, there you are. I'm sorry. Hello, Erin, why don't you come on up?
She's hiding.
So one of the things you will learn at Fredonia, Erin, is we're not afraid to put people on the spot. If you'd like to make a few comments, please do.
Fredonia's been my home for 10 years. I've raised my kids in this district, and while I'm sad to say goodbye to Brockton, I'm so excited to be part of the Fredonia family. It's so excited to work with Bonnie and Suzanne and Shannon. So
Yeah.
thank you for this opportunity.
Great. Any questions?
Did you say this was an additional position?
Correct.
And it's related to the increase in students towards the end of the summer,
Correct.
right
Yeah.
before we started.
Yeah, two really interesting developments is we have a family in the district from Mongolia, which is new to us, and also from China. So those students will be part of this meeting. But you know, we do value diversity, so this is a nice thing for the district. So,
Very nice. If no other questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Next.
welcome, Erin.
So, I think we move item D up to C. So I've got the approval of an additional 9 credit hours in Zappy's base salary. If I could have a motion to bring that to the floor, please.
So moved.
Ms. Paul Fortner, and a second.
Second.
Ms. Hahn. And if we could just, I understand this, but if we could just have an explanation,
Yeah,
please.
absolutely. So if you remember, at the end of the summer, things were moving quite quickly. There is a portion of the FTA contract that involves graduate hours and a payment for those graduate hours. And oftentimes, our new employees are relying on universities to get us transcripts. And sometimes there's a delay that's not their fault, it's not our fault, it's just the time it takes to get us that information. So especially when hiring is happening quickly, this gets magnified a little bit. So this is an example of just making sure that this is accurate and we're giving people credit for the work that they've put in. And we just want to make sure we're being thorough. So.
Any questions from the board? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Thank you. Next, we have the other addendum item, and it's to approve correction of a salary step for Amber Powell. If I could have a motion to bring that to the floor, please.
So moved.
Ms. Paul Fortner, and a second.
Second.
Ms. Goa. And again, Mr. Zillas.
Yeah, this is actually more of an error on my end. So also in the FTA contract, there is a payment for master degrees and also certifications or degrees beyond a master's. And somehow I just missed this in the translation of the paperwork. But Mrs. Powell very impressively has 2 masters as well as a doctorate. And on the original approval, we just had her down for 1 master's. So again, just wanted to make that correction and make sure we were being accurate in the resolutions that we move forward. So apologies.
Any questions on that? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Which takes us to our second portion of hearing from the public. So if there's anyone who would like to address the board, Ms. Johnston, if you would like to, we have a microphone. You just state your name and address, please.
Oh, it's hot. Okay. Hello, my name is Dr. Susan Johnson. I'm a 1993 graduate of Fredonia High School, a taxpayer in the village of Fredonia, and a parent to two really amazing kids who have attended Fredonia Central Schools from pre-K to 12. They actually had Mrs. Foley, so that's pretty cool. My daughter graduated from Fredonia High School in 2019, and my son is a senior this school year. This past Friday night, my son sustained a concussion during a home football game against Portville. He was hit hard for the first time during the third quarter of the game. Although my son attempted to absorb the hit, he was tackled and subsequently smacked his head on the field. Some of you were there, and I know that you saw it. He laid on the field and took his own helmet off. Coaches tended to him on the field for approximately 1 minute, and he walked off the field independently. He sat out multiple plays and went back into the game. He was subsequently hit hard 2 additional times, with the third time being the instance that he signaled by touching his helmet to his coaches on the sidelines that he needed to be removed from play. He played 1 additional snap past that and then was taken off the field. Once on the sidelines, he was tended to by multiple coaches, and I need to state that the coaches did exactly what they needed to do in this instance. He sat on the bench alongside a coach for the remainder of the game. It should be noted that in the quarter of football that followed, another player and a fan in our stands both needed medical attention. The on-site EMT was called over for evaluation of the fan in the stands, and then the stretcher was brought over and medical assistance was rendered to our hurt player. Once the game was over, I decided to take my son to Oshai Children's Hospital in Buffalo for an evaluation for concussion because I can do that. There are many parents who can't. The first thing that the ER doctors asked me were, can I see his concussion checklist from the incident? I told them that I was unaware of any checklist that was used, and they asked who evaluated him on the sidelines at the time and following the incident. I told her that the coaches evaluated him, that he was tended to properly, in my eyes, what was properly by the coaches. She asked about the presence of a sideline medical professional or a certified athletic trainer, to which I told her that we do not have either. My son was formally evaluated for concussion 7 hours after sustaining the hits to his head. My family is a sports family. I have nephews that play collegiate football and hockey, and I understand the inherent danger for my son in playing a high-risk contact sport. I accept all the consequences that come from playing, but what I cannot and will not accept is this district's inability to follow best practices when it comes to surveillance efforts and injury intervention for developing athletes. We have the worst playing surfaces in Chautauqua County. It's embarrassing at best, negligent at worst. There is no doubt that the conditions that our children play on and in compromise their safety. You are having our children play on fields that have a high likelihood of getting them hurt. We must have procedures and policies in place for when an injury does occur. This district has a concussion management policy that was approved on July 9th, 2013. In accordance with New York State Education Department guidelines, this policy should be reviewed periodically and updated as necessary. I searched this concussion management policy by doing a district search on Section 6 website, and it linked to an inactive district webpage. I thought, there is no way that this can be happening. So I went directly onto fredonia.winnyrick.org website, and I searched concussion, and it took me to a page that is housed under the health office, and it read, quote, the Fredonia Central School District has established a board-approved concussion policy. The policy can be read here, with an apparent link. Once clicked, a page not found, error notice appears. Your established board-approved concussion policy is unavailable for public view. This is what I would like to be addressed by the district administration and by this board. I would like to see immediate priority given to district student-athlete safety. I request a working internet link to the district's policy on concussion prevention and management. As per New York State Education Department and New York State Department of Health, this policy should include a procedure and treatment plan developed by the district medical director and other licensed health professionals employed by the district to be utilized by those who may respond to a person with a head injury. The procedure and treatment plan should be appended to the board policy, and a procedure for periodic review of the concussion management policy should be made available to the public. Secondly, injury prevention measures need to be implemented immediately. Full stop. This includes the hiring of a certified athletic trainer. 2/3 of all New York State Public High School Athletic Association schools, 66%, have access to either full-time or part-time trainers. A certified athletic trainer on the sidelines of high-risk injury sports is an essential component of ensuring the safety, well-being, and performance of high school athletes. New York State, like many other states, recognizes the significance of having a professional with specialized training in sports medicine present during high-risk contact events. Coaches and athletic trainers have distinct roles and responsibilities. While coaches are essential to the sports strategy and player development, they lack the specialized medical training and expertise that certified athletic trainers bring to the field, particularly in dealing with injuries, emergencies, and player safety protocols. I want to know that my child's health and well-being is paramount at Fredonia High School. A comprehensive, frequently reviewed concussion management program and the addition of a certified athletic trainer are not prudent measures, they're ethical imperatives. We elected you to make sound decisions on behalf of our families. The expectation is that you will.
Thank you. I think that what you're telling us is very revealing, and I hope that your son is doing better, first of all. But it's something that our board doesn't review as often as we should. And I'm going to ask Mr. Ziliaks to make sure that these concerns are addressed, and we have a report ASAP.
Yes.
Can we get a copy of what she read to us? Because I think that would be helpful.
I can get it to you.
Yeah, she'll get it to me, I'll get it to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Your son is doing better?
He sees a concussion specialist on Wednesday.
Okay. We hope that he's doing better.
Thanks.
Anyone else like to address the board? Yes.
Hi, Marie Persh, 122 Gardner Street, class of 1991 here. I was an athlete here for many years. My 3 sons also graduated from here, class of 2019 and 2022, I think. Yes. And I was lucky enough to have my 3 boys play sports here, love it, even though the fields were less pro. And I was also lucky enough that none of them ever got severely hurt. What I can tell you, and what I can tell you from experience being in a professional capacity at another district, is that it's imperative that you as a board take a look at the opportunities that you have to keep our children safe on and off the field. Specifically when they are injured, to have an athletic trainer at their opportunity at any incident, whether it be minor or major, because I can tell you from personal experience that it will be very difficult for you to personally recover from a child that doesn't come back. I unfortunately had that happen to me in the district that I was in. And I can tell you after this weekend, where I watched that football game and watched the same team where my incident happened to one of your own, and not know if that child was going to be okay. And all I thought was, How are we helping our athletes? How are we helping our parents? How are we helping our future athletes if we're not doing our part to keep them safe? Because that is our job here. That is one of the many jobs we have here besides educating them. And I ask that you just start to review that, think about it, reflect, have a serious conversation. If you have questions, I am happy to help you because I'm now legally able to discuss the situation without any backlash or opportunity to be sued civilly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burke. Anyone else like to address the board tonight? Thank you both for your comments. Mr. Zuliaks, your updates.
Yeah, real quickly, first of all, thanks to both the parents who spoke tonight. I was in the government class earlier today. Thanks for the invite, Mr. Petrando, as well as Mr. Newell. And one of the things that we were trying to draw some comparisons is between how we operate as a school district or a board and how that connects to some of the democratic processes that are in place that we learn about in our social studies classes and also that are in place in the United States. And one of the things we talked about is having a voice today, letting your thoughts be heard, the ability of people to come to different meetings or have different forums to have a chance to share their thoughts with us and the importance of doing so. So thank you. We appreciate it. And I'm sorry to hear about both situations. And absolutely, we will dig in and take a closer look at all that you mentioned. In terms of just the update itself, we talked about having a non-voting member, student member of the Board of Education. We've been processing that. One of the thoughts from some of the teachers and administrators we've been talking about is that most likely many of the students who would be interested in participating will be doing many other things across the district. And perhaps asking one student to make a commitment to a couple meetings a month, although if you break it down by day, it's not that much, but if you factor in, if they're part of an athletic team, if they're part of the school music program, if they're part of the drama productions, that could either cause them not to be able to attend, or it just might be a lot to ask. So one of the thoughts was either designating a person with a couple alternates, other students who would attend, or in some districts they do this more by committee. And the thought was working through some of the student groups that we already have in place, perhaps student council, perhaps National Honor Society, perhaps the student ambassadors, and selecting 2, 3 students, whether they're as alternates or as a committee, and they'll work together to represent students on the board. And I just wanted to have a brief discussion tonight to get some feedback of whether we feel that would be an appropriate way to move forward with either a selection with some alternates or a small group of students, or are we feeling like one student would be preferred? So I don't know if you have any thoughts, and this is something we can certainly follow up on. And then from here, we would get into how would we select those students from some of those groups, if that's acceptable. Any thoughts from the board? Ms. Hahn?
I'm open to more than one, whether it be like a tandem or a small group. I'm not sure. Maybe
I think we were talking about 2 or 3.
Okay. That makes sense to me, and I think it would be nice to see student interest rather than maybe hand-picking them, because those are kids who maybe always get the opportunities.
Right.
And I would like to see maybe a new leader emerge who hasn't had an opportunity.
And in our tentative conversations was definitely, students would be volunteering to participate or would put their name in the hat, so to speak. And then we talked about a couple different options, which I think, once we kind of get this part settled, we can move on to that next part. But I would hope that we could have a student on board here within a month or so.
I would also support, I think this 2 to 3 is reasonable to the students in terms of the level of commitment on top of all their other priorities and activities. So, and also agree with your approach, Ms. Hahn, looking for folks to step forward.
So being that we're just starting this, we're just implementing this whole process, we're still open to change if needed in the following year, and
Sure.
See how this needs to be adjusted if that's the case. But 2 to 3 sound like it's a good representation of the student body.
Sure. Yeah, and there are no regulations or really even any guidelines for how this could be done. This was a thought that started with our teachers and talking with other districts. There seems to be evenly split between some type of smaller group or alternates and one student. A couple districts did report that when they do have one student, it isn't uncommon for the student to not be able to attend. And obviously, they don't want the student to miss games or miss a production or a concert or anything like that. So they've just accepted that as part of what happens when you get a student who's involved. But I think we were feeling like potentially we would like, if the idea was, and the idea was to get student voice into the conversation, then it'd be nice to have somebody here.
I would just add, because I do like Sheila's point that if you open it to the full student body for whether it's an invitation or whatever, you will get different voices and not maybe some of the kids who are involved in the same types of things.
Sure.
I'm not opposed to even going to 4 students, but however these students are decided, I would hope that maybe we could have, I don't want to resume so much, but I would hope that whoever's doing the selection would say, okay, we can't select 3 soccer players because a soccer game would wipe out all 3 of them on a school board night. So I would hope that there would be some diversity. And yeah, I like your idea of including somebody who may not normally be included, but shows potential. I'm totally in favor of that. I think that's where we want to go with this. It's not always the obvious choice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And we wouldn't move forward with any actual selection process until we had a chance to discuss again. But this will help us take the next step. So that's all I have for tonight.
That's all you have? Okay. Okay, great. Mr. Johnston, do you have anything to add? Quick.
Just thank you to the speakers tonight, something for us to take on board and to discuss as a group. Thanks to the honorees also tonight.
Ms. Gullo?
Exactly the same.
Okay.
Sorry.
Ms. Powell-Horton? Nothing? Mr. Hawk? Okay. Ms. Hahn?
Just, again, thank you to both of you for speaking, and just know that our process is we can't respond as individual board members, but please know that we're taking all your words very seriously. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Farrell, I understand that Mr. Paskey is a ball hog, and
I was planning on riding on their coattails.
no, not tonight. We're starting with you.
I feel like I got like a promotion or something. I guess I just want to say, about the last month, we've seen a lot of increases in needs coming into the district, unexpected. And, we've had to engage in a lot of problem solving, and I just really want to recognize the instructional leaders in my department, my colleagues, you folks, for the ongoing flexibility and teamwork that's really helped us to meet all the needs that we have, that just happen and you don't expect them. We have to really step up and be flexible, and I appreciate that. That's all I really have to say.
Yeah.
Okay, the good
Well,
things
it's,
have been said tonight.
we only hear a little bit of it, but yes, I understand that you've been challenged. Thank you for your efforts. Yeah. Ms. Piper.
Mr. Bash's birthday.
What a great way to spend it.
29 again.
29 again.
Just a couple of comments about a couple things tonight. The Little Seeds Partnership has been amazing. They are a feeder program for our students to come into the kindergarten program for students with special needs, and it's wonderful for these students to get familiar with WELAC before they come there for kindergarten, for their families to feel familiar with WELAC. So it really has been a game changer. They are a class act. I just have to put that out there. They've done some wonderful things for our students, and really we've been able to acclimate our students into more of a least restrictive environment, more in the integrated setting. So I just have to put a shout out. Little Seeds has been a great partner with us. I also want to say having a library at WELAC has been wonderful. We love BOCES, but now that we're able to really have space for our students and have an opportunity for them to get what they need at that age level has been really a great start to the school year. So thank you to the board for supporting that. I was fortunate enough to go to Albany last week to get an overview on UBK regulations and guidance, and Margie and I are going to sit down later this week and take a look at some of the recommendations and some of the changes that have happened. And I think some more great things for people like Ellen Foley are coming forth with the UBK program. The state is really recognizing the need and the importance of early childhood. And I think they're going to actually put their money where their mouth is, which is great as well. So it was nice to spend some time there on early childhood. We've been talking a lot about the Hispanic heritage. Kudos to Bonnie Burnett there in the audience, has shared a lot of resources with our staff. And we're looking forward to having a day to celebrate specifically next week, as well as a luncheon with our staff. And we're thrilled to have Erin Lamp on board with us, because she'll do nothing but bring great things to our program. So just lots of really great things. So, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Drummond.
Well, I just want to give a shout out to our PTO leadership. They've really kind of ramped up their presence in the building, and they had a playground and popsicles kind of mixer to welcome new adults, and it was really well received, and our membership is at an all-time high. So thanks to the leadership over there. Thanks to Margie Wright and the support from the board, we've ramped up our social-emotional learning support materials for teachers. We've always implemented the Second Step program that kind of came from WELAC, followed the kids into the elementary level, and now we have more manipulatives and books to support the learning in addition to the online program that we use, so I'm excited for that. And then I've been working with teachers to continue my professional learning. We spoke at the opening ceremonies this year about the trust activities that we learned, and I've carried that into with the teachers. We meet every 5 days and we do little quick meetings, and we work to build trust in the building. It's been going well, so it's been really well received, so I want to continue that momentum. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Paskey.
Do I get Mrs. Troutman's time as well?
No. It's your birthday and you've got to go home for birthday cake.
I do.
Make it quick.
I just wanted to give a shout out to the Student Support Services team and our Pride Committee. They've had a lot of activities since the beginning of school. We started off with the College Consortium with over 20 schools, 20 colleges here, where our juniors and seniors were able to come and visit with them here in the library. Our start with Hello Week, which really rocked it this year. It was fantastic. We've got parent-teacher conferences coming up. Once again, we're going to be using myconferencetime.com to allow the parents to sign up online for all of their slots. And keeping it short for my birthday, all done.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And welcome to our new staff, and thank you both for sharing that. It's very important. Thank you.
I'm expecting the seniors to sing you happy birthday on your way out.
To get their paper signed, they'll have to do that.
Great idea.
Dr. Wright?
Thank you. Thank you both to our speakers, and it models the process for our students about involvement and using your voice, so thank you for that. And congratulations to both Mrs. Lauder and Mr. Petrando for your recognition of the creativity of your course, the idea, the putting together. There's a whole proposal process that they completed in order to get that, and even in motion. So we're grateful for the work that goes into getting a course up and running and going. So that's appreciated. It has to connect to standards and it's not just something like, hey, we have an idea. There's a whole thing that goes with it. So it's a lot of time and energy. So thank you for that. And I'm glad that it was recognized. And to Mrs. Foley, of course, we're just so happy to honor and celebrate her. And I'm grateful that we're able to support the things like Mr. Jollinger was saying, including the ARPA funds or the American Rescue Plan Act allows us to have funding to address that learning loss concept. And we know with the social emotional things that came out of the pandemic with our students, we're able to see some of those. So Mr. Forbes, I have to give a huge shout out. He and I have become best buddies over this whole process. It's one global act, but it has 7 different iterations, and each one has a review process and a kickback process, and they give us more information process, and then more information, more, and then, oh, thank you for all that, but doesn't fit into the box that we're requiring you to fit it in. And so it's been quite a journey, but we're able to keep slogging through that to be able to provide the supports like the funding for the Student Ambassadors Program, the SEL materials, some different things that have to do with books at Wheelock and things of that nature. So we're able to meet these needs and we're grateful for that. So it is a huge collective team effort. So I just want to recognize all the different people that go into making that happen.
Thank you. Mr. Forbes?
I'm good, thanks.
You're good? Ms. Morrison?
Other than announcing that the next meeting is October 10th, I'm done.
You're done?
How about that?
I will also add that, yes, the next meeting will be October 10th. The board had a retreat a week ago, and through that retreat, Mr. Johnston had sent out a board self-evaluation. I have not looked at it, other things going on, but as soon as I do, we're going to get a time frame for getting that taken care of so that we can look at improving our board. Also from that, I think that we're going to continue on with discussions of using New York State School Board Association to help us with some district and board goals. So it's kind of opened our eyes as to what they can provide to us, but we're working on it. So with that, we are looking to go into executive session. If I could have a motion to do so. Ms. Powell-Fortner, and a second.
Second.
Ms. Gallo. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. We are in executive session at 7:11. Thank you, everyone.
Students, any adult can sign your forms, but especially